going on her way to the general election. So very excited to have her here. So coming into our slide presentation, which one, Yenny? Is it this one? Slides 9 to 13?
Yes. The okay. Not that one, the other one. That's the oops version one.
Okay.
Wait, where the heck is it? Wait, what?
Oh, yeah, guys, technical difficulties.
Sorry, Yenny, let's switch to your screen share. Really, okay. It's in a comms folder?
It's in the folder for it, for all of the.
Okay. All right. Well, this is great. This is like onboarding part 2. This is how we use our drive. It's not the recordings. Hey, here we are. Great. Okay. Presenting. It's going to come together in a minute. Good. We're going to drop through our priorities survey, the calendar initiative, political and civic engagement, update on phone banking. This is all the usual stuff. Update on the income march. This is the last update because it's happening this Saturday. And then all the basic income week events. This is really like our biggest event we've had, biggest week we've had since Humanity First movement started in March. And then our candidate spotlight. So the link to everything that gets talked about tonight is all on these 2 slides, including the link to the slides. So that is one to note. Good. So we are, we're forward to define and grow that vision, that energy that all came together with the campaign. So we're converting and harnessing that passion into a movement to be sustainable and to drive us through to grow through the 2024 and beyond. We've got these candidates we're supporting for the 2020 election, and those who didn't win their primaries, they're talking about running again in 2022. We're just going to keep going for this. We're in this for the long game. But in the immediate time, we can connect you with folks in your state and local area as local organizations and chapters of Humanity First are coming together. We'll onboard you to the working groups at the national level and help you find among our many endorsed candidates the ones that you can feel most inspired and connected to. So I know, Ishak, you were talking about you want to talk to right of center voters. So that would be the people in Blair's district. It'll be great to connect with her on that. And we also watch movies. We've got Zoom watch parties, and we have hangs. Tonight is a great hang hosted by Arizona Yang Gang. Our vision is one of a data-driven government that prioritizes our intrinsic human value and quality of life. Prioritize, that is, over profits. Here we go. Here are some activated states in dark green, and the kind of getting there activated states are in light green. So currently active working groups The meetings for all of these working groups are on the Google Calendar, so you can drop in and be a fly on the wall and get to know what they're doing. I mean, they're pretty self-explanatory by their titles. Good. So here are we going, where we have this community calendar where it's a really important part of Humanity First movement, as what sets us apart from a lot of other political movements where they're looking to engage with people to have, we want your time, we want you to volunteer for us, we need your money, we want you to donate to us. And we're also just asking, we want you to relax and feel good and make friends and just to not be alone. So we have hangs. We have themed hangs like the one you'll learn more about Arizona is hosting tonight. Watch parties. We're organizing for book clubs. There are classes actively now, are guitar classes. And these are all just suggestions of other kinds of classes that can be offered over Zoom. If you're interested in making any of this happen, then you can get in touch with us and we can help set you up to be a host for a community event. All right, this slide is a lot of text. This is a reason why to have the link to the slides, because this text is beautiful. But we're gonna just kind of bypass it right now. All right. Jim McBride is with us. Jim, will you give us the political civic update in about maybe 2 to 3 minutes?
Yeah, I just wanted to check in because right now is so important. We've got all of our Humanity Forward candidates, and folks might have their own favorite candidates in their communities around the country. And so I wanted to just give everybody heads up that there is a political and civic engagement channel where people can, where I'm sharing information and people can share their own information about political strategy in terms of how the Yang Gang can be most effective, helping campaigns. And
did Jim's audio cut out or did my audio cut out?
Jim's audio cut out.
One thing that was really interesting is yesterday I attended something called it was called Soul Squad Summit. It was kind of a digital organizing event hosted by the Biden campaign. And they're promoting a lot of tools that can be helpful to us, like the Vote Joe app allows you to canvass your friends and also canvass people that you just meet randomly. So national tools like that can help our candidates, many of which who are on the Democratic ticket. So they might be using these tools as well. So if you're interested in digital organizing and ways the Yang Gangs especially can be so useful to helping our candidates by maximizing these tools, I'd be happy to engage with folks in that channel. We'll have a lot of updates in the next week or two.
Thank you, Jim. Yeah, I highly recommend popping in that channel. Jim has so much experience. There's so much that we're learning from him. It's really helping us become a stronger movement. Basic Income March is happening the 19th.
Yeah, so it seems like Stacy has not been able to get in here yet. So I'm gonna cover this part for her real quick, and then she can, if she hops on, she can give us a little extra information. So right now we've got about 24, I believe more than that, cities. Since I took this image, I know at least one more was getting added in Texas. And there's 40 cities across the world that are doing this. So it's a global movement, not just in the US. And there's a lot of different activities you can take part in. Some places are doing rallies, some places are doing bike parades, car parades, art installations. And you can find out all of that information on basicincome.march.com. Could you go to the next slide? Oh, Stacy has entered the waiting room. Hey, Stacy. You should be able to hear us, I believe. Stacy?
I'm here. Sorry.
Oh, cool. No worries. So I just, if you could go back a slide, I was just talking about how many locations that we currently have. So
Yeah, we're now in 44 cities across the globe, which is awesome. We picked up a couple more just in the last 2 days. We would spend a lot of time talking with and kind of helping the international community plan, and so a lot have started to populate over the last week as they've kind of finalized things with their teams. So that's been really exciting. But in the United States, I think we're at 26 events, which is phenomenal. And because of COVID this year, of course, most of the events look a little bit different than what a normal kind of march or rally might be. So because of that, we really kind of took to heart this idea of the International Basic Income Week, which kicks off tomorrow. So we pulled in a full week of events to make sure that everybody had lots of opportunities to engage. People don't feel comfortable being in kind of public demonstrations. We wanted to give them lots of digital opportunities to come together in community. So we have the march on Saturday with all of these events. These are all in public, some kind of public demonstration. Some are car parades, some are bike parades, street corner protests, art installations. We have a mural being created in Atlanta, as well as street corner protests or a rally. So lots of cool things happening for sure. Really excited to have people come out and join us. And of course, with the Senate right now in kind of deadlocked around what our next stimulus might look like, we are really hoping to have a big turnout here and get some press so that we can help pressure Senate Republicans to include at least one more stimulus check, but if not ongoing monthly or quarterly stimulus checks. This idea of getting cash to people is pretty important right now. I think we all know how desperate so many millions of our people are. So this is an opportunity to actually potentially put some pressure and maybe have an impact on the conversations and negotiations that are happening right now in Congress. So that's, I think, at a high level. And then the week of events that we have, starting on the 15th on Tuesday, we are doing the world premiere of Inherent Good. That's going to be a watch party altogether. I think we have 450 people have pre-registered for that. So it's going to be pretty phenomenal. It's specifically a watch party altogether. So we'll watch the movie together, and then following that, there will be a panel discussion with the filmmakers. So you'll get to have kind of the Cannes or Sundance Film Festival experience where you get to watch the film and then do Q&A with the filmmakers. On the 16th, we'll have a panel discussion with Aisha Nyandoro, who is the CEO of Springboard to Opportunities, which is the organization that is responsible for the Magnolia Mothers Trust pilot in Mississippi. That's in the middle of their second round of pilot. She's going to be interviewing several of the mothers who are part of the pilot, as well as who are in the Inherent Good film. So you'll actually get to see and have deeper conversations with the people that are in the film that you got to watch the day before. So that's really phenomenal. And we've been working in close partnership with Geist Productions, who is the team behind Inherent Good. So really excited about that. And then on the 18th, because so many of the events this year really don't lend themselves to speakers, car parades, it's kind of hard for 60 cars lined up to actually be able to hear from speakers and have a stage and kind of PA system. On the 18th, we're having a live stream event in the evening, the day before the march. And that's going to be bringing together leaders from across the globe, but definitely kind of centered here in the United States, give them an opportunity to talk about the amazing progress that we've made this year and kind of come together as a community to reflect on our progress, but then also to help us all kind of stay focused on what we need to be doing over the next months to try to continue to have the impact, or to kind of finish out the impact that we know we really want to have in the election cycle, and as well as some other areas. So Andrew Yang, Andy Stern, Scott Santons, I think we have right now 8 or 10 of the mayors for guaranteed income are all going to be featured. Natalie Foster from Economic Security Project, Charles Booker, Reverend Liz Theo Harris from Poor People's Campaign, and many, many others are all participating in that. So it's going to be a really great event, really excited to have so many leaders within kind of the dominant or primary, what we think of as the basic income community, but also people from other social and economic justice organizations that are promoting and supporting the idea of a guaranteed income or a universal basic income, and have been pushing that pretty hard this year as well as in the past few years. So we'll get to hear from them. We have people from Spain, people from Canada, kind of leaders and organizations there will be speaking as well. So a lot of people to be able to come together and talk about the progress that we've made across all these different kind of strata of our society. So that'll be great. It starts during the week on September 15th and 16th, as well as September 18th. Those all start at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 Eastern. They are there's links to get into kind of the directly into the event, but they'll all be live streamed on Facebook as well, on Income Movement's Facebook. So if we kind of have spillover, I think our capacity in those are 500 people. If we have more than that, then you can always go to the Facebook links. We're promoting that pretty heavily on social media as well. And if you sign up ahead of time at basicincome.march.com, you can sign up for any of these. We'll be sending you an email. Our first one is going out this evening, but we'll send you the morning of the events, the links as well, so that you can make sure that you have what you need to be able to access. And then, of course, on the 19th is the march itself. The times for those, mostly they range. Start times for those are sometime between noon and 2. On that day, we're going to have a few different options for people. If there's not an event in the city near you, there's a few things that you can do. One, this year we're actually we've partnered with WATT, WATT, which is an app. WATT stands for Walk the Talk. It's basically Fitbit for a cause. So we have a Basic Income March event up on WATT, and you can download the app, join us on Basic Income March, the Basic Income March project, and you can just start walking. And so on Saturday, we anticipate hundreds of people where there isn't an event happening, in their communities, they can actually start the app and be walking in solidarity with us, which will be really exciting. We're approaching 1 million steps have been taken for basic income so far, and we've just had that going out for about a little over a week. We'll run that through September and October, so we can. Our goal is 50 million steps for basic income, which is the number of steps it takes to circumnavigate the globe. So kind of even with distancing in public, that option. We'll also, of course, have the option people can walk in their communities, take pictures of either where they are marching, or we're asking people to actually take photos of their feet as they walk, and then doing the hashtag of Basic Income March 2020 so that we can see on social media all the people who are actually on the afternoon of the 19th participating, whether together in community or individually. So that'll be a lot of fun. Lots of options and opportunities there. And then on the 21st, in partnership with Humanity Forward, we are hosting a phone banking party, really, for Donna Imam and David Kim. Specifically, we'll be phone banking for them. There will be some guest appearances. Donna and David will both be there, and maybe some other special appearances during that time. And you can sign up for that. Humanity Forward is leading that effort. So they have, I believe, either on their website or if you go to their social media, you'll see some posts for signing up for that. But that'll be a lot of fun, and that'll kind of round out our full week of events.
Yeah, then the last on the 20th is, did you mention the text banking party for Blair? Yeah,
Go for it.
Oh yeah, so and this one actually was initiated by a volunteer at Humanity Forward Rapid Response. He wanted to do a text banking party for Blair and got in touch with the leaders and the volunteer leads at Rapid Response. So we put this together to be at the following day after the Income March, and it's going to start at noon Eastern Time, 11:30 for training. But if you aren't able to come for the training 11:30, then we can hop on a Zoom breakout room and you can get training for text banking.
Awesome.
Well, that leads right into our candidate spotlight with Blair. So Blair or Ian, do you want to take over now and let me know when to pass the slide? I think, Yenny, could you unmute for Blair and Ian so they can speak to the slides here?
I'm unmuted. Can anybody hear me?
Yeah, we hear.
Okay.
We can hear you now.
Okay, I think I was on double mute. I tend to do that. I have a mute on my mic and I unmute it and forget that I have to do it on the computer as well. Well, thank you to everybody for coming out tonight. And I'm just going to tell you a little bit about myself and my district. Obviously, I'm Blair Walsingham. I'm running for Congress in Tennessee's 1st District, which is the top right corner, on health, freedom, and financial security as my main key points of what we need here in this district across Tennessee and really across America. And I see a lot of people out here who are really struggling, and this was before COVID. And I know it's not unique, but we do have a high level of poverty and a low level of opportunity. And I want to change that. This is the 21st century. We have even simple as expanding broadband internet to make sure that people have access. That allows people to continue their education, get better jobs, better income, telehealth. There's so many solutions out there, and I just wanted to bring something new to the table. So there's a lot of crossover work to do. We are all in this together. We all care about the same things. We all want our families to be happy and healthy and successful. And that has been a really great message so far. And I find more people that they feel the same way every day. It's very encouraging to see people come together, especially in such a tough time.
Blair, for those who don't know, what do you mean by an R+28? District?
Sure. So there's basically a rating for the different districts in every state that tells you how Democratic they lean or how Republican they lean. And R+28 is a heavily Republican district. It's not the highest. There is others higher, but it's a fairly high red, you would call it, district. It's arguably one of the more safer Republican seats in the states. However, my campaign is really unique. We've never had a woman be elected here for a full term officially, and it's been 139 years since we actually had a Democrat elected, though I have tons of support from across the aisle because I have such well-rounded, meaningful policies. And Tennessee spoke out before. They had a poll and they said, we we want a woman, and we want a non-politician, which I was not a politician before this, and I am clearly a woman. So I checked a lot of boxes for the people here, and the fact that I'm a small business owner, a mother of 4, an Air Force veteran, it just makes a lot of sense, and I'm able to communicate well with a lot of different people from different backgrounds.
Thank you. Yeah, you're definitely a rising star in Tennessee.
Thank you. Yeah, so I mentioned this. So it's been 139 years since a Democrat was elected. We have a little over 700,000 here in the district. Our unemployment rate is between 6 and 9.7. That was pre-COVID numbers. It is a little higher now, though it can be conflicting. A lot of people have multiple jobs. So even though they're employed, they're still making really low wages, and they don't have access to the higher level education or well-paying jobs, the healthcare they need. There's a lot of struggles even with the people who are employed. So like it says on here, 1/5 of the population has a bachelor's degree or higher. We do have something called Tennessee Promise, which is a really great program that allows people who are Tennessee residents to get their first 2-year degree free of charge. There is a little bit of bureaucracy to it, but it can be done, and it's a great program that is helping boost those numbers. And under that one is the 58,000 households of, I can't read this on my screen, it's so little, I'm sorry guys, 288,000+ have earnings under 25K a year. So we know the poverty level is about 12K, so that's 2 people per household making the poverty line. That's really low. 25,000 is not a lot of money, as you guys I'm sure are well aware. It's a low wage, and that's what the average pretty much is out here. The largest industries in my area are manufacturing, which is actually great news for Tennessee because we can train the skilled workers that they need through machine and tooling industries. We can actually get grants that will come to our local colleges to help educate people on these jobs and get them employed. Behind that comes in retail, education, which is teachers. We always need more teachers, hospitality, and as you could guess, healthcare. Especially now, we definitely need a lot of nurses and doctors and good ones. Thank you. Sorry, whoever's doing the slides, thank you. I appreciate you. So this has quite a few policies on here that are on my platform. And while I didn't want an extremely long or complicated platform, I wanted to make sure it was really well-rounded and that we hit on a lot of these issues. It's not just one thing or 2 things that is going to fix the problems we're seeing. It's going to be a wide variety of solutions. So some of them on here that I feel I've already talked on was the high-speed internet. It's actually really, really important. And if you guys have ever seen me on a Zoom, I'm at my office today, which is why I'm actually clear and you can hear me. Otherwise, I'm on my like 10 cans and string internet. And if the breeze even looks my way, it cuts out. And that's a struggle so many people. At least 1/4 of people out here don't have internet access and they don't have cell phones, period. And that's a large part of the population that doesn't have access to all the things I mentioned before: telehealth, education, better paying jobs, the gig economy, etc. Right below that, anybody who is an Andrew Yang fan on here is going to love this one. Data as a property right. This one is actually gaining a lot of traction nationally. We have a few states like Illinois and California that it's really building momentum in, and people are starting to realize how much of their data is actually sold for profit and how much that they really don't have control over any of it as well. So this is an extremely important step moving forward in the age of technology to make sure that your data, which is anything and everything you do on a smartphone, device, internet, period, it's yours. That's your property. That's your information. And you should, 1, have control over it, and 2, be compensated if it is used. In the Forever Wars is on here, and that one's really easy to understand. Wars that have been fought since before my father was even born are still going on today. We need to really focus on what we're doing at home and get everything together so that we can help in a more meaningful way and stop spending all of our money into for-profit war zones as well. And this includes environmental actions too, but I won't go too far into that because there's quite a few policies on here. I'll try not to break them all down for you guys. Mental health services obviously is very important. We need to focus on mental health. When we have a happier, healthy society, you're going to see a lot of these other problems kind of just sink behind. Paid family leave, obviously understandable. Regulating drug prices, making sure people can afford their health care. Obviously, public school funding is really important. We all need education that starts at an early age, term limits. We have so many problems right now because people sit in office, they get bought out, and they just stay there. Term limits is so important for us to move forward and revamp our democracy. Ranked choice voting. I don't know if you guys heard, but there's actually another state this year that's going to do ranked choice voting for the presidential election. So that's really exciting. It's another one that's really gaining momentum. End plastic pollution, moving on to hemp. That'll bring a lot of high-paying jobs to the area as well. Also moving in a renewable, sustainable way. So there's a lot of policies on here, and this isn't all of them, but you guys kind of get the idea.
Before I move from this slide, you guys might want to take a screenshot of the slide. So when we have the AMA, you have this as a prompter of any issues that you might want to ask more questions about. There, you get your screen.
One step ahead of you, Colleen.
Expert tips.
Nice. Good.
So this is saying basically that I'm courting the conservative vote. Since we are such a heavily red district, I have to work extra hard to get over the walls that we have built through this divide we've been fed for so long. A lot of people are very cold even to see a D next to somebody's name. So right now we are really working on getting the attention of the voters out here who aren't happy with their GOP candidate and who want real, accountable, accessible representation, and telling them that we can work together and find the common ground to move forward to make Tennessee the best it can be. I have quite a few endorsements and not all of them are on here, but these are some of the ones that I am really proud of. And especially the Tri-Cities Women in Color is a small local group. And that is just so meaningful because these are real people from my community who are out here trying to make change. So to be noticed by some of these organizations is just really special. And I'm really glad that we can work together to come up with some policies to make the changes we know we absolutely need. Oh, cool. Be even Zoom calls similar to this that you can get your friends and family to come to get the word out. Data research is a really important one. We, as a humanity forward endorsed candidate, we always want the data, right? I want to make data-driven solutions and decisions, knowing exactly what we're up against. So yes, this is the, like she mentioned before, the money bomb. So we are trying to raise $1,000 tonight just to help with outreach. We're going to have a poll done soon. We would like to make a commercial to get out to the voters who are at home and need to know that they have a choice this November.
Right. Yeah. Bring out your wallets.
The hardest part about campaigning is asking for the hard-earned dollars. It's difficult, and I would love to change this in the future so that candidates don't have to do this. I would like to see democracy dollars, of course, where everybody just has the opportunity to actually invest in candidates where they might not be able to in the past, but also so that we can beat big corporations out. Right now, all these PACs are funding all these different candidates, these corporate PACs, and it's not great. So we definitely need to get there.
Yeah. I'm counting out how many people we have on this call right now. Yeah, I mean, if everyone can throw in $10, at this minimum, that's going to get Blair somewhere. So, it all adds up. Like Antoine Pierce said, we'll take the kind that jingles. We prefer the kind that folds. So.
He's funny. I've met Antoine Pierce, and he's a wonderful man. I actually visited while he drove through and stopped in Knoxville, and he's great. I would love to see him in the Senate. Yeah.
Blair, while we're waiting for people to open their wallets, can you give folks an overview of the Freedom Grant? I'm guessing that wasn't one of the slides that we prepared.
Yeah, absolutely. If you guys haven't heard, we did something called the Freedom Grant here, which is a mini version of the Freedom Dividend. And we were able to award 2 people in the district $500 a month for a year. And we just started that.
Deeper. So Do we have following?
Yes, following, sorry, I'm following Facebook.
All
I'm
right.
following YouTube. So I don't see any questions from Facebook yet.
Okay. Zoom hand, or if you can't figure out how to put up your Zoom hand, you can just write Zoom hand in the chat.
We're an easygoing bunch.
Yeah. I'm gonna pick up a question that I learned from somebody who posted in Facebook earlier this week, who looks like she couldn't come on here yet, but she was wondering why you called the Freedom Grant instead of dividend, because a grant is something that is just given away. The dividend is something earned for having made an investment. So tell us about the choice in naming that and what's the intention.
Sure. I chose the grant for a few different reasons, but this version isn't really a dividend because there is no value added tax. There is no carbon tax paying into this. This is a different, it comes from a different, they had to apply for it to be selected to be awarded it. So it is much different than a dividend. And my preferred version of the Freedom Dividend is not means tested. There was no qualifications like you had to work or not work or make under so much money. I just wanted to make the choice to know it was somebody who really needed it and would make a big difference in their life.
Thank you. Next question is coming from Ishak.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey, Ms. Walsingham. Sorry I got to introduce myself to you earlier. I think your campaign it sounds like really interesting, and congratulations on winning the primary.
Thank you.
Something you said actually I was interested in learning more about. You mentioned you were an Air Force veteran.
Yes. Yeah, actually, I was in the service for 6 years. And I started out as a services personnel, but I mostly was cooking, which I love to do. I do that as a form of love for people. I like to just cook with passion. I want you to like really enjoy your meal and think it's beautiful. It's more than just eating some grub. But later on, I was diagnosed with cervical cancer and I wasn't able to deploy or leave the States anymore. So I cross-trained into airspace operations where I stayed stateside and monitored airspace operations.
Okay. So is that like monitoring airspace operations? That's basically, is it similar to like do you work with like Air National Guard or whatever and like basically
yes.
check stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. So I worked in a compound and it's a big building that actually is inside the base, but there's also a separate gate and only authorized higher level security clearance personnel had access to it. And we basically literally monitored the airspace. So we watched dots flying.
So I'm wondering like what kinds of like when you talk about like investing in that, is it like are there new strategies that help like increase the amount of people who are able to get into trades or like increase the amount of trade jobs available? I guess I'm wondering more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. So it's a combination of all of that. One, we need to invest more in different trade schools. So like I talked about earlier, we have Tennessee Promise. So some people can at least get their 2-year degree, but a lot of people, even if college was entirely free, would never go. It's just not the path for them. They want to go straight into the workforce. And that's where trade schools make a lot of sense, is setting people up for that success to go into a higher paying job just right off the bat. We can do that by, like I said, bringing more trade schools here for a different variety of jobs and opportunity. But also I've talked to people within the machine and tooling industry who just lead in that. And they needed 200,000 new employees this year, and they only got around 25,000. So there's a huge discrepancy of how many people they really need for a lot of these machining and manufacturing jobs. And if you can provide that skill set, those jobs will come to you because they are really in need of that workforce. So I'd like to see that happen for here in Tennessee. right now we're kind of losing jobs. We actually had another plant in Rogersville, which is in Hawkins County, which is my county, announced that they're closing next year. So it's going to be 200 people who are going to lose their job. And that has been open for a very long time. So the need to actually bring high paying jobs to this area is really high. And it's going to be even higher given COVID and how many jobs we're losing that we know are not coming back.
Are there high-skilled machining type jobs that are not easily automated?
There is. They actually think that there's going to be a 4% increase in these machining and manufacturing jobs, even with automation. They're still going to need some machines, all of that will be the automation. So there's actually to be an increase in these jobs. Those are great questions. Thank you.
Thanks for
that was something a lot of us had on our minds when we were seeing manufacturing as a top industry. What about automation and how that comes in? So next question, it will come from Angelo. And just as a this is fine, Isha, because I didn't say this in the beginning, but if you have a follow-up question, what we'll do is you'll ask one question and then we'll go through whoever else is in queue, and then we'll come back around to follow-up questions after we've gone through. So right now we have Angelo, and then will be Shane, and then Brendan. So Angelo, you have the floor.
All right, thank you very much. So I just wanted to ask, do you have specific messaging for people in rural Tennessee about the benefits of the freedom dividend and what that will do for their communities to bring them back, possibly from a long coma that they've had for possibly over 80 years?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've already discussed a little bit about how the poverty levels are really high here, and they face a lot of struggles with a lack of job opportunity. The freedom dividend provides that door of opportunity. It helps people take care of whatever needs they're meeting, which is the same everywhere, whether it's covering your rent, putting food on your table, getting healthcare, paying off debt, whatever that may be. That's why I like it so much, is that it puts that empowerment back in these people's hands to make the choices that are right for their needs. One thing that I think plays into this so much is the rural internet expansion. If people can have the internet access they need, plus the funds they need to look for these jobs or the transportation to get there, a lot of applications right now aren't even on paper anymore. Most of them are online. Even Waffle House, you have to call in. So this is a really big struggle for people out here, and having that financial capability to just do what you need is literally life-changing. And that's going to be the same everywhere, but especially out here in our rural countryside.
Yeah, we had Barrington last week or 2 weeks ago, and in Georgia, that was also a priority issue. He's running for Congress also, the broadband. So yeah, you wouldn't be alone in Congress representatives who are pushing for that. Next on to Shane, your question.
Yes, hello. Hi, Blair.
Hey, Shane.
Ian and everybody. All right, so I'm going to play journalist. I'm going to bring a tough question, my version of a tough question. So when I went to New Hampshire, or when I was knocking on doors, canvassing in New Hampshire, we had a lot of like, a lot of people that didn't rank Yang like number one, but he was like number 2 to 5. A lot of people liked him, but they weren't ready to commit or whatever. So my particular team, we didn't officially Yang anybody the first day. We didn't get anybody. The second day we split up, and our other half, they got a bunch of them, but my half didn't officially get anyone either. And that was it. I went home. I drove back to New York, and I had such a great experience, but I was definitely bitter about it. So I stopped at the CVS right by my apartment, and I started chatting up the clerk stocking the shelves, and I I got him pretty good. I yanked him and another guy who came and was asking for like soap. and I worked that in. I was like, oh yeah, I don't even know how I did that, but
Andrew Yang wants you to have soap too.
Yeah. Exactly, universal basic soap. So long story short, I know what I realized. So that second guy, you know, the first thing he said was like, oh, I know I don't do politics, you know, and I think obviously. With your R28 number that you have, the challenges that you're going through, you have the same. What I'm trying to say is we need to get the non-voters. Like, that's the most important element, the non-voters. Like, and obviously you know this. So my question is, what have you done, or what's the most aggressive, interesting, or creative idea that you've either implemented or considered to try to bring in non-voters?
That's actually a great question, because there's so many people who are non-voters and disconnected from politics. I did an introduction video to Andrew Yang for the TNDP, which is our Tennessee Democratic Party during the DNC. And there's something I really wanted to highlight there, is that so many people have been sitting on the sidelines for a really long time. They haven't wanted to choose just one path or another. They feel extremely torn, or like they just don't belong in politics altogether. What we have to do is provide that hope and inspiration for something different that is inclusive to everybody. And I try to share that message all the time. And it's actually very interesting how many people, if you can just talk to them, anything can be political. You could talk about, you know, the grocery store, and you could make that political. Like, how much do we pay in taxes on our groceries or not pay? Or how did it get here? Is this sustainable? Is it local? Is it organic? Is it not? Is it GMO? Do I like that? Do I care? You can really make anything into politics. So if you talk to people and find out what they're interested in and just treat them like human beings and care about it genuinely, they're going to be interested. And when they realize that their voice matters and that there's options out there, they're going to show up to vote. So I would say, just honestly, the best thing you can do is talk to them like you would anybody else, and treat everybody with decency and dignity, because so many people have skipped that for a long time. When politics comes up, some people get really aggressive, and we have gotten away from having these hard conversations that we have to have. So you just got to find a way to connect with them that gives them hope and lets them know that they are heard and that they matter.
Cool, thank you. I won't do a follow-up, but I'll try to brainstorm something crazy.
Okay, sounds good. So guys, we're at $220 too in fun so far. So the goal is 1K. So if you can, please do jump in the link in the comments and donate if you can. Everything counts. Thank you, Shane, too. That was a great question.
Blair, with what you were saying about honesty and dignity with how you treat you, this is why we love you so much. You're such a strong humanity first candidate, you know, because there are so many different elements that we bring to, you know, that we look to for a candidate, you know, data-driven policies, UBI, but being a humanity first candidate in demeanor, in actions, and campaigning and training your staff is so important. And this is where, you know, we love you.
Well, thank you. And I love all of you guys. And that's the most important part of this for me. And I have to like get on a soapbox for a second, because it's hard. It's hard, especially when the media is looking at you and they ask you these really divisive questions that are poised so that you give a divisive answer, and having to say, I'm not going to respond to that, or flip it around so that you're not getting drug into the mudslinging and the nastiness. It can be difficult. And a lot of people have been conditioned to be attracted to these dramatic headlines or, you know, divisive statements. So to stay away from that and just focus on the humanity aspect of it is literally the most important part for the campaign.
Yeah, here. Brendan, on to you for a question. Thank you.
Hey, Blair. So,
hey, Brendan.
My question is, you have the freedom dividend, but are you going to do the 1,000 a month or the 1,200 a month that Yang has changed to?
So that is a really great question that I would leave up to debate for Congress. There's so many different plans out there, and some of them are really good. So you have the $1,000 a month, you have the $1,200. There's the platform for the $500 a month for kids. There's multiple different ways to pay for it. I personally favored the value-added tax, which is more of the consumption tax. It wasn't on the staple goods, which was Andrew Yang's initial plan, but I've also heard Scott Santon's, which is the value-added tax that is basically to everything, and why that makes a lot of sense and how it eliminates a lot of bureaucracy for companies to try to say my good is a staple good or it's not, to try to get out of having that value-added tax up at the manufacturing point. So I would like to see all these plans come forward, and I was really hoping that Congress would move forward before, January. So let's see when we get there what all is on the table, what bills are up in that House, and then readdress that. But I wouldn't put down any of them if it was to move forward, even if it was a lesser. Any step in the right direction is still a step in the right direction.
Thank you.
Shane, did you have a follow-up question?
Oh no, I thought we weren't allowed. No, I would just grill her again and be like, tell me the most aggressive thing
Okay.
you've done.
I'll give you a good one that is slightly juicy. One of the GOP candidates that ran in the primary, Nicole Williams, she had some similar things such as legalizing cannabis on her platform. We have actually come together very strongly and addressed the media and the people in our district to say this is what bipartisanship looks like. Her and I have some different views on things, but we came together, we talked about it, we talked about solutions and what's right for our area and lead by example in doing so. And you gotta imagine that does raise quite a few eyebrows for people.
That's a great answer. Cannabis, it's a gift from God, and especially for people who really need it.
Yeah.
So that should unite everybody.
It really should, and that was one thing. I did have a family that I talked to and interviewed for the Freedom Grant, and I said, is there anything that I could do for you? As a congressperson, as just an average citizen in your neighborhood, what can I do to help your family? They were struggling. Their child does have cancer and has been battling it for several years. And one of their answers was, can you help me with legalizing cannabis? Our doctor recommends it for a child, but the state of Tennessee prevents it. We would have to move out of state to be able to try the oils for our son to help him with these treatments. That is really sad that even a doctor is recommending them this procedure or to be able to use this avenue, and they're unable to do it when they could just move and have access to that in their healthcare for their child. So these are some really interesting things that people don't really get to hear behind the scenes. I think there's a Zoom hand up, but I don't know.
I saw that from Angelo. We're going to take a quick pause and take a look now at where we are with the money bomb. Again, the goal is $1,000. We are starting to climb. Let's all get a little bit more in there. If you haven't, take out something that jingles and folds. Bring that on. Okay. Angelo, and then, Corey has a question. So we'll have Corey go because Corey hasn't come in yet with a question, and then Angelo.
Sure. Colleen, could you stop sharing your screen? Thanks.
Hi, Blair. I have a question about specifically anti-LGBTQ working students. What are your thoughts on that?
I would love to see people not be so afraid and lead with love and inclusion instead of coming up with these insane bills that punish people is what it really is. Anything that is going to make these communities happier, safer, and included is everything that I would stand for. The slate for hate bills and things of that nature have got to go. It's unacceptable. There's also the bill that came through that allows religion organizations who do adoptions to openly discriminate because of the same reasons. That has to go. It's sad that we're even having to fight this battle still. It's really ridiculous. I'm sorry that we're here. And like I always say, when I say I'm sorry, that means I'm going to do everything I can to prevent it from happening any further.
Strong words. Thank you, Blair. Going into Angelo next.
Thank you very much. So, Blair, I had a interesting question here.
Sure.
Do you have a plan for improving the VA and helping our troops transition from military life back to civilian life when they leave the military?
Yeah, absolutely. So I never saw combat myself, but I have tons of friends and family members who have. And there's a really big problem that a lot of people aren't aware of. Many of the people who go into these operations have a higher level security clearance. And when they come back, some of them can't even get the therapy or help that they would want or need because they need the doctor that they see has to have that same high level security clearance. There's a lot of things that are actually still confidential. And that really inhibits being able to move through some of the issues they face in regards to PTSD types of deals. So I would love to see that change and have mental health just come to the forefront altogether and it not face the scrutiny that it does right now. We've had some changes in the past few years under the admin where mental health especially was attacked. They want you to come forward and tell them about it, but then they punish you or put you out the military and don't want to help you afterwards. And that's a real problem for a lot of people. So they're afraid to come forward or in fear that they'll lose their job or their livelihood because they're facing these struggles. And instead, we see such a high suicide rate within our armed forces, and that really has to end. Everybody should be getting the help that they need, and especially our veterans who are coming back and they desperately need it. We need to make that more readily and easily available and destigmatized.
Wow, I think that's something a lot of people didn't know about. We had level clearance of the providers that's required. Yeah, that absolutely does need to change. Taking on to these producing, really insightful answers from our candidates. So shout out to Corey. Thank you for coming on and representing. Going now next is this, and
it's me. It's Clay. It's
Clay. Yeah, we're on for it, Clay. Here you go.
Hi, Blair. How are you?
Hey, Clay. Good. How are you?
I'm so excited when I see candidates like you with human-driven policies like this. And boy, I want to thank you for your service in our great Air Force. And thank you for stepping up to do what you're doing now. Absolutely.
Thank you. So, that really means a lot. Thank you.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean it from the heart. I was just wondering. I was wondering about the rural community, and I think Angelo already kind of asked that question. But how about the youth community? Do you feel excitement from the youth, and are you able to, touch them and reach out to them?
Yeah, absolutely. So I do have some local endorsements from some of our youth groups, such as like Washington County Young Democrats out there. They're coming into the spotlight. It's a really brilliant time that kids, young adults are told for so long, like, you don't know anything. And right now the internet is just this extreme tool where they can learn and see in real time what's happening. You can download an app called Congress and look at what bills are coming through and read about them. My scheduler is 17 and she is insanely involved in politics and does mock elections at her school. And I have seen a really big uptick in people who are excited about politics as a whole and getting involved and learning about campaigns and taking political science once they're, working on their degrees. So I would say, yes, I have seen a big momentum change in the youth generation. And I think term limits would inspire them even more. If you're coming up as a young adult and you're like, man, all these people are so much older than me and they've been there for 30 years. How could I ever be a politician? Knowing that there's going to be a limit, that there's going to be seats open, would be more inspirational to them to know they have more of a chance to get in and get elected.
Yeah, I agree. I think service, like political service, that shouldn't be a career.
Right. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good question.
Blair, we're going to need you back for a roundtable on youth and We've had Adam Christensen come on, and he's in his mid-20s, and all of his staff is I think under the age of 22.
Yeah. Adam's great.
Yeah, he's really breaking ground. And we had Jen Perlman, and along with her belief in term limits was also that legislators should mentor the next line. So it would be great to have the three of you on to hear more of this on having the youth in the movement. Ishak, you have a follow-up question. We'd love to hear from you.
Hi. First of all, my apologies for I guess I asked a bunch of questions right off.
No, you're good. It's all good.
Asking questions on one of these things. So I had one more specific question, and it relates to something you mentioned, which caught my attention. IT and wireless infrastructure in rural communities. You mentioned especially particularly relevant to COVID, it's putting up a barrier to things like telehealth access and stuff, maybe, and in general, maybe healthcare provision as well. And yeah, the other issues you mentioned as well. And I guess I'm wondering if you have upon being elected, if you have a specific plan for how to get these larger companies or maybe smaller competitors. But I'm not familiar with many small competitors being in rural areas. So how would larger people with the infrastructure and companies, how do you incentivize them using the tools of government to
Yes, that's a really great point. So I would love to see smaller business and local competition so that we're employing locals and not just selling out to the biggest corporation who is willing to do it. However, we do have TVA here, which does all of our electrical, and they do have a unique position to be able to go out since their lines are already run, and they do have a high skill set already, and they would be able to employ even more people locally. But we would just have to see who's going to bid on these contracts and who's willing to, do the work, hire the people, and get it done quickly, because people are in real need out here. And it's not just the implementation of the internet, it's also the improvement of infrastructure as a whole to attract more of these manufacturers to our district. If we don't have good roadways, if we're having landslides everywhere, our roads, potholes washed out, or if our farmers aren't able to get their produce in and out safely and efficiently, that is going to hurt everybody here in East Tennessee. So this infrastructure is a wide variety of from, building our roads up, hard infrastructure and soft infrastructure is basically what I'm trying to say. We have to invest in both.
Cool. And no, never mind. Thank you for taking the time to answer these. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for asking.
Go ahead, Colleen. We have another question coming in from Brendan.
Hey again.
Hey, Brendan.
So I just found out that I think California is making it so you can vote at 16, and I wanted to know your opinion on that.
Yeah, I actually saw that on the news tonight, just a little bit ago, that I did see it was probable. I didn't see a definitive. Did you see a definitive?
No, I think it was
No, it's probable. I'd like to see what happens. This was actually another part of Andrew Yang's campaign. And as a mother of 2 preteen boys, I was a little torn. My son's about to be 14, and I can't imagine him voting in 2 years. And I asked a lot of people, what they thought about it. And they argue back the same thing. Well, we have a lot of adults who are very uneducated and they don't know anything about politics, but they still get to vote. And if they're of working age, which at 16 you're working, you're paying taxes on your paycheck, maybe you should have a say in some of how these taxes are used. The other argument is, well, their parents, get the taxes at the end of the year, and that's to care for their child. So I've seen a lot of both sides, and a lot of it makes sense on both sides. I'm not definitive on how I feel about this yet. And that's part of who I am as a person, is I want to keep it completely honest. I'm not going to pick a position just to have one. I'm still looking at the information coming out of this. I would like to see what happens with these voters and what some other experts would think about it. So if you want to send some information my way, I would love to read more.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. So while we'll pause and see if anybody has any questions coming, this has been a great firing of questions. I want to let everybody know that what we do with Humanity First Movement with the communications department that we introduced in the update slides before is, after these AMAs, we make video clips of highlights from everything that Blair has been bringing out for us. So in order to make these highlight clips, we need volunteers to watch through the AMA and mark on timestamps what you think are the most outstanding moments. And as Blair said, they're trying to raise $1,000, and some of it is to go to another commercial. Well, with Humanity First Movement, with this initiative, we provide free social media spots with the video clips that we make. So you have a real power, all of you volunteers, to influence what message goes out onto Twitter, onto Facebook, onto our 3-minute clips that we get onto YouTube. So if you would step up to the plate for us, all volunteers I'm speaking to now, watch the AMA, timestamp those highlights, and send a message DM to our Twitter. That is HF Movement, at the Twitter handle, HF Movement. The faster you can help contribute to this work, the faster we can get those clips out for Blair and her team. So it means so much to us. Thank you.
It really...
Yeah. Oh, we lost your sound, Blair.
How about now?
Okay.
I must have double muted. I'm sorry, you guys. I was just reiterating what Colleen said, is even something as simple as volunteering to timestamp a video is so important. We do appreciate everything you guys do, whether it's donating $1 or timestamping a video. It all matters. And this is what's really important, is that the teamwork makes the dream work. I can't do this alone. Nobody can. We need everybody. And it's part of, kind of cliche to say, but it's part of a movement, is doing this and taking the stand and say politics can be different and we can all be included and we matter. And just thank you guys all for coming tonight and listening and helping and volunteering.
Thank you, Blair, for that acknowledgement for the volunteers. Now, do we have any more questions, or now that you know that highlights are going to be going on social media, Shane, do you have another juicy question to prompt another startling response? Maybe?
I don't have anything creative, but if we could just keep digging. What's the second most creative, aggressive, or interesting idea you've implemented or considered to reach non-voters in your district?
Okay. Well, if you don't already know, my GOP opponent never went to a debate. There were 16 candidates in the primary on the GOP side, and she didn't come to any debate, no interviews, didn't answer questions, yet here she is the nominee. And she has also openly said she will not come to a debate with me now. So one of the more interesting things we've considered doing is having a debate with an empty chair. That way I can still answer questions and get my policy out there to people who might say, hey, politics is stupid or it's ugly. And, you know, this woman won't even show up to listen, but hey, maybe they'll be interested in at least hearing what I have to say. So that has been a thought that we've come across, you know.
Do it.
Okay, I'll try one.
Sure.
So you were in the Air Force and so was I, so I can, so, you know, that's a common bond there.
Thank you. And thank you for serving too.
Yeah, absolutely. But what the question I was wondering, I know what all that good military training did for me. I'm wondering, how has it helped you in what you're doing right now?
I will give you guys, I'll share a story that I've never shared before. The military taught me a lot of things, and I was only 17, like newly 17 when I enlisted. And I was not a runner. I'm 5'2", you guys, like now. So it might have been a little shorter then. I'm just not a runner. And when we would go run laps, you know, there was times in the beginning where I'm like, I can't do it. Sometimes I would step off the track. I just can't do it. And they would go, hey, everybody, you're going to run an extra 3 laps because Blair over here decided she was going to quit. And that teaches you really quick that your actions affect other people. You are not the center of the universe. What you say and what you do touches other people's lives. And I learned really quick to not give up, to keep going when it's hard. I learned accountability, integrity, teamwork. I learned a lot of things from the military that definitely shaped me into the adult that I am today.
Yeah, absolutely. I can definitely identify with that.
Yeah, and to be fair, it wasn't always me. Everybody learned that lesson pretty much the hard way. Oh, yeah. I remember one person didn't lace their boots right, and we all had to do like leg lifts and push-ups the entire time that they relaced their boots. And I tell you this because now we know, hey, everybody doesn't know how to lace their boots right. And we would make sure, hey, do you know how to do this? Can I help you? Right. Do you not know how to fold your shirts the right way? Let me help you. Let me make sure. And that's that teamwork. And we're missing a lot of that from our current society. Everybody is so worried about surviving on their own right now that it's hard to get that community connection. And part of what I do is really focusing on that. When I talk about putting more funds into community projects and efforts, that's what I want to see. I want to see people who know more of their community and are more comfortable and they feel safer and more connected as a whole. So that would be another something that I pulled from my military expenses that's different.
Yeah, absolutely. Very nice.
Thank you.
Blair, you're such a leader. We need you in Congress. All right, you guys, if you've been touched by anything you hear tonight and you haven't donated yet, fix that. So Angelo, just like Blair said, like you're just hearts and wallets. There are a little more than 20 people on this call. So are there
spotlight? I will tell you guys, when I first started learning about running for Congress, I met with one of our local Democratic Party officials, and they told me you need to raise a minimum $250,000, but you really need to raise like $1 million to be a successful congressional candidate. And I was like, wow, why do they need all that money to be a representative in their community? It totally blew my mind. So after running a campaign for almost a year, I've learned it's really expensive to reach the voters and to buy signs and to host events. And I started my campaign shortly before COVID really hit. And one of the first things we did was shift to community resources. And we did the Strive Together, Thrive Together fundraiser. And we put $6,000 back into the community for a group called Tri-Cities Mutual Aid just to get groceries to people in need. Those are the kind of things that we do with this campaign, is really connect with our voters and make sure we're helping people right now, not only if I get elected, but right now in the current state of affairs, which is not great for many people. At least you know that we're going to help make sure you have food on your table, and that's great. But I also do need to pay for commercials and signs. And I was told once, signs don't win a campaign, but campaigns without signs don't win. So you can imagine it's a tough way to find balance, but it truly is an expensive process. And like I said, I hope we change that in the future. But right now we do need to raise funds to win this race. And my GOP opponent is well funded. She is fully supported by corporate pharmaceutical PACs and dropped over $1 million of her own money in this race. So literally every dollar that you guys donate makes a huge difference in this win for me and being able to outreach to these communities.
Angelo, step it up. I think there's something he wants to say.
Yeah, just wanted to say that you are killing it tonight. I love that you have given a solid and well-explained answer to everything. Yang Gang, let's get her a Yang by the end of this night. Let's hit that $1,000. Come on.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Angelo. It's hard to come into a political field as a non-politician. And I've even had the news channels, they'll ask, you do know that if you said some like negative, nasty things, you would get some more likes, right? And I'm like, yeah, I'm well aware of that, but it's a conscious effort to not fall into those behavior patterns.
Just like Twitter.
It is. It's crazy. A lot of people, we've been conditioned to this through the media and these social outlets from way, this goes way back of maybe even before we had like phones and internet of, oh, did you hear what happened because you haven't talked in so long? That it's just been passed down in this weird way that we're so just in tune with these headlines and kind of craziness. And I would like to see us focus and be as excited about positive things as we get uproared about negative things. Yeah. Well, we only have a few more minutes. Does anybody have any last minute questions? Is there any like $500 questions out there I can answer? Throw it my way. I'm happy to talk on anything.
Okay, I'm going to this is going to be kind of a creative answer for you. How did you say it? Cooking is, you're bringing out, there's love and soul in it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So first thing that made me think of was Tulsi Gabbard. When she came into Congress, she called up her mother, who makes this amazing candied macadamia nuts in Hawaii. And she's like, Mom, we need, how many people in Congress? 418 or so? 435, maybe. But anyway, she was like, let's say it's 418. Okay. Yeah, we need 418 boxes of candied macadamia to give, at the holidays to, or just to give like at that moment to everybody in Congress. And she's like, and you know what else we need? We need 834 boxes to a total, because we need to give a bigger box of macadamia candy to all of their staff, because they're the ones who really do the work. And she said that then what happened was, she was getting greeted by, across the aisle, people would come up from her and say, like, oh, that was, my family, we loved that. And it went so fast. And, thank you so much. And they asked, like, let me know if there's anything you need. I'm on this and that committee. And because she described at first when she came into Congress, there was such a divide between the parties and from bringing out candy to everybody, she was able to, have instantly connections throughout the house. What would you do with food?
Well, as my campaign team can tell you, I've cooked a little bit for them. I actually I had them all come out and go camping with me. I took them on a special hike up to the top of my mountain and swimming in a local waterfall. And I just really feel those human connections are so important, and I would absolutely love to do that in Congress. Even right now through my campaign, I walk up to the Republican booth at the fair and I'm like, how are you guys? And sometimes they're like, whoa, why is she talking to us? And I'm like, because you live here and I love you, and you're just another person here in my district who I'm sure wants to be happy and healthy just like me. So I love Tulsi too, and that's a really adorable story. I'm sure I have some secret recipes that I would take in as my ammunition to Congress as well, to warm people up and just let them know I'm not here to attack you or come after you. I'm here to work with you and make things better. And I know not everybody is going to be on that same page, but the best thing I can do is set that example and lead in that way. I have to like get Tulsi to call me and maybe send me that recipe too. That would be amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, pecans grow in Georgia. Do they grow up in Tennessee? Do you have a local nut?
I don't know that we have any like pecan trees growing en masse out here. I wish we did, but it's probably close because it's not too far from the state lines, but I haven't seen it. We have apple trees everywhere. I see random apple trees, like even on hikes. I'm like, oh, look, it's an apple tree. It's great. We have a lot of wild mushrooms that grow really well out here. We have turkeys, which are really cool. We have a lot of great, beautiful things in Tennessee. And if you guys have ever heard me talk, I think it's paradise here. The picture you see behind me, which I'm kind of blocking, that is Watauga Lake. And that is in my district. And it's just a beautiful place. Everybody goes to enjoy and spend time with their families. The Appalachian Trail comes through there. And we may not have pecan trees, but we have a lot of other beautiful things.
We do, yeah. We just got a chat. Ian is saying, join hashtag Team Blair, go camping with us.
Yes, come camping we call it the UBI Ranch just for fun. But we do have a nice little river that runs through. It's, beautiful to wake up and have the sunrise and set behind the mountains and be able to enjoy that. And I want to share that. I want everybody to live in prosperity. And I know times have been really hard for me in my life. I've been through a bit, from being a single mom to getting out of a domestic abuse situation when I was younger, even being in the military as a young mother, and then coming back to civilian life and facing medical struggles and just the average things that everybody faces coming into adulthood. I'm happy and really thankful and grateful for everything that we have, but I want more people to find that. And the only way we can do that is by some real changes within our legislation that make everybody just as important as a CEO. It shouldn't matter what your job is or what you do. There should be a basic level of dignity and humanity there, and opportunity for everybody.
Somebody write down that timestamp.
Clay's on it.
Clay's one of our video editors.
Oh, awesome. Cool. Clay, if you're never not busy, definitely let us know.
Wow. Well, it's 10 p.m. My goodness. Thank you so much for your dedication to us, Blair, to the AMA and everybody on live stream. Let's take a quick look how we are doing on our money bomb right now. Oh yeah, that's from me. I just contributed. Yay.
Thank you. 352. We're almost halfway there.
Nice. We got one more donor since the last time we announced it. Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, we've got 2 more hours till midnight, and we're going to just keep this rolling tonight. Now we're going to convert to a hang, a very special hang, actually. It's Angelo, isn't this the night for the Arizona?
Yeah, that goes off into a different room, though.
Okay.
Yeah, Talks with Toxins happens at in an hour. If you guys want to join, Blair, you're invited. Just bring some wine and have some good conversation.
All right.
So we had a lot of people checking in on YouTube and Facebook, and I wanted to thank everyone who checked in on there. I was seeing, we were live on about 10 different Facebook pages plus YouTube, and each one of them had like 4 to 6 people watching the entire night. So I think that's where some of our extra donations probably came in from, because we've only got like 16 to 17 people in here. So I wanted to thank the YouTube and Facebook folks for participating and saying hi.
Well, I'll let you guys know I won't be on the next hang. Unfortunately, my husband wakes up at 4:30 in the morning. It's 10 o'clock here, so I have to vacate so that he can go to bed, because he works hard to keep us afloat. And thank you guys all for being here tonight. And if you do think of more questions, please do feel free to reach out to me at any point. And again, just thank you all. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Blair.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Have a great night.
Bye, Blair.
You too.
Have a wonderful night, Blair.
Good night.
Have a good one.
Wow.
So I just stopped all of the live streams on Facebook. Andrew, stop YouTube.
Yeah, I'll stop the recording now since we're officially on a hang.
What's on your mind, Colleen? You love that? You loved it or what?
I loved it. Yeah, Angela.
That was amazing. Ian, let us know whatever clips you want, timestamps wise. Like, she did freaking amazing tonight.
Oh, thanks.
I'm always so impressed by her.
Oh yeah, and Ian, I will get you that list. I'm trying to get my computer to boot up here. I actually fits with conservative values as well, so this way she can literally dodge around any kind of argument they could possibly throw at her.
Sounds good. Thanks, Angela. Shane, there was one thing she didn't quite answer. Well, she answered your question, but there's another piece that we always talk about that I don't think was on top of her mind. I think you asked the question about the rural.
Yeah.
That was Angela. Yeah.
Angela question. I'm sorry. So, as soon as you say that you're giving money to people in this district, they're like, "You're a communist. You're a socialist. Like, go away." Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
By the way, you're going to steal my guns and kill my babies. And so, the way Blair's been framing it is, and actually they usually start with the guns and babies first. But anyway, the way Blair's been framing it is that, look, we have invested, over decades and centuries, we have invested in our roads, in our bridges, in our internet, in our U.S. Postal Service, all from your tax dollars, right? And you've got our good friends Amazon, just like Andrew Yang says, who uses our roads, our bridges, our internet, and our U.S. Postal Service to deliver their packages, makes a boatload of money, and the idea is that you should see a piece of that as a return on your investment. Right? So it's a slightly different twist on Andrew's stump speech.
Yeah, I actually have a slightly different approach that we've been using with Testify for UBI that you guys might find interesting. So for rural areas, especially like out here in Arizona, we've been pitching it that UBI means more freedoms because it's no strings attached.
Yep.
It's more money than these communities have seen in over 80 years, which means more opportunities for investment, more entrepreneurship,